What is exciting is that we are seeing now a shift to food systems transformation. So we are no longer talking about agriculture, about food security, but we are using a holistic approach. So it's a sector that cannot be neglected if we are to transform Africa as a continent.
What do you think is the biggest game changer for doing that?
I think the biggest game changer is to
Okay, Elizabeth,
Yes, please.
welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, and thank you for inviting me.
So we've known each other for a long time, and I know that you have a real passion for transforming food systems. And so when you think about the times we've connected over the years, what's something that stands out to you?
Of course, you working under the SDG2 Advocacy Hub, which is dear to our heart, our hearts as farmers. So what really stands out is that we are all working towards food transformation. I know from the time we met, we've really met severally. We've been working together under the various campaigns, the Hungry for Action, the Beans for How. So it's been quite an interesting journey, knowing that there's a partner out there who is also advocating, supporting farmers and food systems transformation. And I hope there's a lot more that we can do together. I appreciate the opportunities that you've extended to us. And I want to point out the invitation to the Dubai Expo, which actually was an opportunity to unlock some of the resources with big partners like the BMG.
I'm glad we could connect and be helpful. So tell me a bit about your journey. What has motivated you to advocate for smallholder farmers? You're a farmer yourself, but you're traveling to different environments away from your family to advocate for smallholder farmers and food systems. Tell me a little bit about how did that journey start? What's the story?
So the story behind that, my dad was one of the people who started community-based organizations in Busheng. Most of the CBOs were actually starting from our house, right from the time when I was very young. He is a passionate advocate for socio-economic transformation of the different communities. And one of the organizations that he started, I remember, was called Asosurude, Association for the Advancement of Sustainable Rural Development. That was one of those organizations that he started. But it so happened that the people who were around him did not carry his vision. So at some point when the institution got funding, then of course there was a fight within the institution, and somehow he fell sick at that time. And so that's how he got removed from the board. So when he left the board, the institution collapsed. Later on started another one, BUPIFA, Busheng Banana and Plantains Farmers Association. Again, you're moving with people who don't carry your vision. So it also, again, later on collapsed. And it was also out of issues around, funding, where some of the farmers are looking at such institutions as channels to receive handouts, which was not his vision. Then finally he started another one called Tigewa Development Association, which means that even when you boil water to its boiling point, it later on it turns into vapor, and the vapor again turns into water. So literally meaning that as long as you don't carry someone's vision, they can always start and get disappointed, but they can always start over again. So when he started this, at this point we were mature, and I was already at the university. I thought this was an opportunity for me to give back to my dad, actually, to help him realize his vision. So after I finished my studies, my bachelor's degree, then I started working as a psychosocial counselor. But I didn't like the nature of the job that I was doing. It's a job that never gave me happiness, because every day you're in someone's shoes, and you're in shoes of people who are going through a lot of difficulties. psychologically, mentally, and physically. So at one point, a function of one of my relatives, our banana wine, one of the products that we were making within the organization. So I took it at the auctioning. They liked it. And in a single day, they made an order of 200 bottles of wine.
Wow.
So for me, I think that was a game changer because the sales that I was making in just one supply was equivalent to my salary for almost 3 months. So then I looked back and I said, hey, why didn't I advance and package well this product, work on issues around certification, packaging, branding, and go back to my community and see how I can develop my community through such kind of transformation, because I come from a community that grows coffee and bananas. So that's how I got back and now started, strengthening my cooperative in validation, working around issues of governance, making sure that we develop the product up to the level where it was certified, and bringing more youth and women in the association as one way of creating socio-economic transformation.
And so you've learnt from that agenda and that approach that you brought from that first sale, that first opportunity with the banana wine, and started to reflect how do we transform and build this agenda more globally.
Exactly. So after that, then I realized that I needed the power of numbers, and that is by coming together. And that's how I got elected on the board. And then later, when there was an opportunity at the Uganda Cooperative Alliance, I was also elected at national level to represent the Southwestern region, but also became the treasurer of the Uganda Cooperative Alliance.
Okay.
And because then I had this background in validation when I came in, most of the cooperatives were working in traditional cash crops. It's either coffee or cotton cooperatives, or tea, those cooperatives in tea, sugarcane. So we didn't have cooperatives that were really working in enterprises that would bring them like daily or weekly or monthly cash. So that's how I introduced a validation aspect within the cooperatives to support the cooperative members with income generating activities. And in so doing, I supported, we had a project on maximizing cooperators' benefits, and another one on empowering farmers around Lake Victoria Basin. So that's how I started training most of those cooperatives around Lake Victoria Basin and other regions using the MCB program. And I became popular at national level. So when there was an opportunity at regional level to represent Uganda, it was not hard for me. Okay. Because most of the farmer leaders at Uganda level knew me. They knew the impact that I was creating in the farming communities and the cooperatives in the country. So it was easy for me to be voted to represent Uganda on the board of the Eastern Africa Farmers Federation. And that's how I joined. And from there,
more opportunities came.
More opportunities came.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's an amazing story, and it sounds like the doors kept opening, and now you're the president of the East Africa Farmers Federation?
Yes, sure.
So how many farmers is that representing?
So under the Eastern Africa Farmers Federation, we represent 25 million smallholder farmers.
Amazing.
These are members of 25 national level farmers organizations, cooperatives, commodity associations, women and youth farmers associations in the 10 Eastern African countries.
So how has your experience as a smallholder farmer in Uganda really impacted and helped you to think about what's needed in the African continent to really address hunger and malnutrition, and I guess income as well, like the opportunity for people to come out of poverty?
My experience as a farmer, of course, back home has been around access to financing, farmers having challenges when it comes to access to financing, access to information, access to markets, access to certified, both in terms of seed, in terms of fertilizer, and other services generally, like insurance, logistics.
So is that access, what's the reason for the lack of access? Is it affordability? Is it availability?
So it's in different shapes. One is around affordability.
Yeah.
It's around access.
Yeah.
It's also around the enabling environment for the private sector to thrive, to support farmers. What we did as an organization was first to change our orientation and wear a private sector lens, where we are putting farmers at the center of controlling their entire value chain. I know the story of Uganda and East Africa region is not different from any other country in Africa. And we have middlemen who are coming in to even buy crop when it is still in the garden, when it is still flowering. So to put an end to that was to really see how do we empower ourselves as farmers to take control of the entire value chain. And part of the things that we did was to embrace technology and digitization. So we came up with our e-granary platform, with our e-platform called e-granary, that works from the market backwards, and that offers bundled services in terms of addressing the challenges around input access, seed, fertilizer, in terms of access to services, the insurance, financing, irrigation, and so forth, but also the market, where the market is, and be able to find that buyer who can give us a forward contract. And once we have the forward contract, the beauty with it is that it has a floor price. So this gives an assurance to the farmer that after you producing, you will already have a ready market for your product. So far profiled 250,000 farmers on our platform. We know where they are, we know the size of their land, we know their production capacities per season. Then this data also helps us in terms of understanding their production demands, but also in terms of predicting what they are able to produce. So with this data, we are able to aggregate their demand for inputs, and then we walk to the supplier of the inputs, and we are treated as a distributor. So in so doing, we earn a discount as an organization, but also the farmer is able to access such inputs at a reduced cost. With our current strategy, after doing all that, so we said now the focus was more on systems, on the cooperative, on the association, and now we needed to move now deep to the individual, him or herself. So you realize that our current strategy is on enhancing smallholder agriculture's rewarding investment opportunity. And we are pushing for scaling of aggregation, because that's the concept of us as farmers associations and cooperatives. But then how do we put it to scale? How do we leverage digitization and put it to scale? How do we work around policy? Because ideally, as an institution, our core mandate is also around lobby and advocacy. So how do we move from doing just general policy advocacy to doing focused value chain policy and advocacy based on the challenges that we are facing as smallholder farmers? And again, our organizations, how do we make them sustainable by building their capacity through institutional capacity strengthening? And of course, we also work around various cross-cutting themes on youth, on women, and most importantly, on climate change, because we know it has no borders. Everyone has been affected.
So we were climate adaptation?
Yes, climate adaptation, I must say. And actually, we've done a lot on climate adaptation. We've met several times at the UNFCCC COP meetings in Sharm el-Sheikh, in Dubai, in Baku, and we are also already we've already done our roadmap for COP 30 for Beren. What we do as an institution mainly is to help our constituency, our farmers, to understand these processes, but also contribute to the processes. We've been working on our call to action for climate change. But also every after COP meeting, we always organize consultation meetings with our members to unpack the decisions of these COPs and help them to understand the processes and how they need to engage at national level and be part of those national committees. Like now, most of our organizations, we've been pushing them to get involved in the review of the NDCs. Some of them have been part and parcel of that process. We've been engaging with our constituency on how to contribute on the global goal on adaptation in terms of indicators and making sure that our priorities as farmers organizations are also taken care of. And just now, I'm from contributing on the Sharm el-Sheikh joint work on agriculture and food security. I've just made a statement on behalf of the global farmers constituency. So we have to make sure that the farmer's voice is heard, is everywhere. The different agendas, whether at the continental level or global level, making sure that we are there. For Africa's case, we've just been through the post-Marable process, which is the CADEP Kampala Declaration, and we just had the launch of the strategy, the CADEP Kampala Strategy and Action Plan in Johannesburg.
What excites you about that?
What is exciting is that we're seeing now a shift to food systems transformation. So we are no longer talking about agriculture, about food security, but we are using a holistic approach of food systems, putting farmers at the center. I think all the actors are now realizing and recognizing the importance of farmers in the agri-food systems. I can tell you that with the process that put together the declaration, it was consultative. And as farmers, we held several engagements. We were consulted. Our priorities were considered. We were part of the launch. During the strategy and action plan launch, we were part of the process for us to actually fast track, the process, but also for ownership purposes. And in fact, very soon, we're having a farmers consultation on the CADA process with AUDA-NEPAD, that is the Africa Union Development Agency. And the meeting is going to take place in Cameroon for the farmers on the African continent. From the development partners, the approach is encompassing an ecosystem approach where everyone has to be brought on board. And quite often, it's the farmers that have always been left behind. We've not been listened to. But I'm happy that we are getting strong recognition from the different actors.
So as you prepare for that meeting, what's your core message going to be for smallholder farmers about this strategy, this new CADA process and the Kampala Declaration?
Making it intentional to involve farmers in the process. Quite often it has been courtesy, just to show that, farmers were involved, they were part of the process. Yeah, and it's not been intention, especially when it comes to implementation through the national pathways at national level, because that's where the rubber meets the road. So we need to see active engagement and involvement of farmers in the national processes, in the national pathways, be it in the national committees. We need to have our voice there. Then also, we need to mobilize resources to make sure that strategies that we're pushing for, they are funded and supported. And by financing, I'm not only talking about grants, because as farmers, we are private sector, we are in business. But in most cases, people don't understand us. Most of the actors don't understand us, that we're not looking for free money. We're actually looking for both grants and loans. And all we need is the technical assistance that can help us as farmers organizations to unlock the monies. We always listen to big monies being mentioned by institutions like JEF, the World Bank, GCF, Adaptation Fund. But then the challenge is in terms of how do we unlock those monies? So issues of capacity, needs to be put at the center, capacity for farmers organizations to be able to become service agents in terms of implementing different programs, but also to have the capacity to unlock those resources. When you look at the African challenges, especially when it comes to issues of food and the import bill, as farmers we have a role to play in terms of reducing this import bill. We are over 50 billion US dollar.
What do you think is the biggest game changer for doing that?
I think the biggest game changer, again, is to invest in farmers, but also to increase financing for the agriculture sector.
Okay.
But when you look at the African continent, how many of our countries have actually allocated the 10%? When you go down to the details, you realize that actually they haven't allocated 10%. So it's important that our countries live to their commitments, allocate these resources to the agriculture sector, because it's the backbone of Africa. It employs more than 70% of our population. So it's a sector that cannot be neglected if we are to transform Africa as a continent for the East African countries, because usually they read the budgets on the same day. But you realize that most of the countries were allocating between 3 and 4%. But in some cases, they would have special projects for different countries. So it's important that as countries, they also come up with flagship projects that can help in terms of reducing the continental import bill.
One of the things, obviously, I think the last time we met was at CGIAR Science Week, which is, all talking about science and innovation.
Yes.
What role do you feel science and technology plays in this investment and this engagement? Are the science and technologies that are being developed helpful for smallholder farmers? How are they being applied? What opportunities are there?
Yeah, I think with science and technology and innovations, it's now the way to go. You can create impact at scale without embracing science and technology. But there's also challenges that maybe need to sort of be addressed if we are creating more impact. And I'll start with issues of data, which is very critical if you're to embrace technology. When you look at what is happening currently, it's like everyone wants to be a data expert. Everyone wants to collect their own data. So there's no data convergence. Because they have their own data in silos. Or most actors do not listen to farmers. We generate primary data. Everything starts with the farmers. So for me, I think what should be happening is that whatever data that is being collected by other actors should be building on the primary data of the farmers. So we should be having that sort of layering. And then secondly, when we talk of technologies, most of these are donor supported. Actually, we have few countries that are supporting their domestic or homemade technologies. But what is the situation is that most of these technologies are supported at the pilot stage. And the projects are usually between 2 to 3 years. And after the end of the project, the technologies have not reached a level where they can make a business sense to the farmers. So in so doing, after the end of the project, so everything just stops there. Whatever investments that have been made become white elephants. And actually, when you move around, you see a lot of those. And it's also partly because most of our development partners are not investing in the scaling. So we stop at pilot, and there's no scalability. So I think for me, what should be done is to profile most of those technologies that are working and see how to put them to scale. And let the development partners invest in the scaling. And finally, with regard to technology, is the farmer-led technologies. I mentioned about the e-granary model by Eastern Africa Farmers Federation. This is a model, for example, which we've tried. It is farmer-led, it is farmer-generated, it is farmer-benefiting. It has been tried by the farmers. We are comfortable with it. We've piloted it, and it is making a business sense. But how many of the development partners are ready to invest in it?
Yeah.
We've tried, and we are not finding partners to invest in the technology. So what we are seeing is instead partners coming in with their technologies. They are not co-created with the farmers. In fact, they're bringing the technology to the farmers. And because they don't carry the farmer lanes, so after the end of the project, still they cannot be sustained because the farmers don't trust them. They don't trust those technologies. And it's also because these technology developers are selling a service. For them, it's a business. They're selling a service to the farmers. Whereas the farmer-led technologies are benefiting the farmers. Because even where the farmer organization makes money or profit, this profit is plowed back to the farm association or the cooperative. So I think what we would call for is partnerships with the science community, with the research, to co-create together, to co-implement, to co-develop.
And I think that avoids it being seen as a handout. It's a partnership, and it's about how you come together to really develop, but also to implement and then to evaluate. I like it.
Exactly, because Paul, you've been working with farmers, and you're on the other side of the world where you've also worked with development partners.
Yeah.
But when you look at the food value chain, the agri-food systems and the value chain, there's power imbalance. So I think what we need to see is the rebalancing of power, where all of us are seen as contributors across the entire value chain, where there is fairness in terms of sharing of benefits and losses equally. And we also need to see equity. Let's not be seen as people who are looking forward to handouts. Anyway, that's what our politicians have reduced us to, because most of the projects at the national level are politically driven. And so every time politicians come to the communities, then farmers are looking at them as, this is our money, so we have to eat it. This is our money. Yeah, because that's how we've been reduced to. The actors tend to forget that as smallholder farmers, collectively we are the largest private sector. And we are the largest investors when you look at the amount of resources that we are investing in the agriculture sector. And I think that is the recognition that doesn't come out. Probably it's because we've not done some good math to look at how much investments we are making in the agriculture sector as farmers. So it's important that
that's
we
an
recognize
interesting
the
perspective.
Contribution of farmers.
And I think when you think that way, it changes the starting point, I guess, for the conversation, because it's a different dynamic. You're all of a sudden coming as both bringing something to the party rather than,
Exactly.
It's been a pleasure talking. One of the things that I like to always do at the end of interviews is talk a little bit about food.
Yes.
And we both like good food. We have lots of good food memories. I've
good
talked to you about different food. Exactly. When we think about food, there's a lot of those memories connect. There's sometimes good, there's sometimes bad food memories, there's sometimes not even about the food, they're about the people. One of my food memories, I remember I used to travel a lot, and as a kid, we didn't have a huge amount. And when I would go to my grandma's house, she would always treat us. So she would always have something special hidden. And I would run to the kitchen, the pantry, and I'd find, and often she would have this chocolate sauce that you put on ice cream and it goes hard. You knock it and it goes hard. And she would give us a bottle each of this for the grandkids, and then we would have it and we would keep it very protected, hide it in the house so no one knew where it was, because it was a special treat.
Yes.
And I just remember that was something that made me feel special. It made me, I knew my grandma was always looking out for me because she got this. But that food memory is something that I remember, and it was something that is part of my childhood.
Yeah.
When you think back on your journey and food, what's something that jumps out to you? What's a food memory? It may be something you've eaten recently or in the past, but what's something that you absolutely love?
A lot of food.
Yes.
I don't know whether I'm particular on any, but what I remember very well, growing up, like you mentioned, you would run to your grandmother.
Yeah.
Even as especially personally, when I was growing up, our grandma was the best chef. Surely, she would prepare sweet potatoes.
Okay.
In a clay pot.
Oh, wow.
And the way she would prepare it is that we call it katogo.
Okay.
Katogo is a mix of, sauce and food. So the sweet potatoes, she would add beans and prepare that mix. And then she would, I don't know how she would do it, but make sure that all the sauce dries up. And then those that are at the bottom sort of like get burnt.
Okay.
Yeah, so every time, so she would prepare it like today, then tomorrow morning, it's what we would use as a snack.
Oh, wow.
Whenever we'd be going to the farm. And I know we would even have a fight to make sure that we eat that burnt
well, it
sweet
becomes
potatoes.
almost the sweet potato, the sugar would have gone a little bit sticky.
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
It's very...
Exactly.
Oh,
so
like
it was usually very interesting.
Like caramelly almost. It's like the potato when it gets... Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It's very tasty.
Yeah, very tasty.
And with the beans, it must be...
Yeah, with the beans.
Yeah.
And it really creates a lot of memories.
Delicious.
Yeah.
Delicious. Well...
Yes. And then again, also, I come from a banana and coffee growing region. Yeah. So we have a lot of bananas. And especially when it came to the yellow bananas. Our grandma also used to, she would keep yellow bananas for like weeks. So every time we wanted to eat this, I would call them the sweetest yellow bananas. You'd go to him because for them, they would like overripe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and she would keep them for the grandchildren.
Very sweet.
She would know every time they're coming to visit. So every time you go there, the first thing she serves you would be the yellow bananas, the millet porridge, fermented one. We call it bushera.
Bushera.
Yes, it's fermented millet porridge.
Amazing. Well, thank you for joining me on the show, and thank you for all the work that you do. Keep up the great work, and it's exciting to see. And I hopefully we'll continue to work together around the world.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much, Paul. It's like I mentioned, it's always a pleasure to connect with you, speak about food, speak about what we can do together to transform our Africa food systems. Thank you.